Kate, I'm so glad that you're here.
Aw, me too.
Thank you so much for being willing to do this with me.
You bet. Mm-hmm. You got it.
I can't wait to share your story with everyone. So we'll just get started and we'll start out simple, okay?
Okay. Sounds great.
Okay. So where were you born?
Modesto. In
California?
Uh-huh.
No way!
Uh-huh.
How'd you guys move up to Anchorage, Alaska? Tell me that story then.
Well, I grew up in Oregon.
Okay, wait. Okay, start with Modesto then.
So I moved from Modesto when I was 7 years old.
So do you remember Modesto?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember my block. I remember where I grew up. That's mainly it. And my neighbor there on Princess Court in Modesto, I still keep in touch with.
No way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really sweet.
And then I grew up in Corvallis. And
you guys moved to Corvallis?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not unfamiliar with Oregon?
No. So I grew up here, and then after high school, I moved to Portland and lived in Portland in the 80s.
You lived in Portland in the 80s. What was it like in Portland in the 80s?
Well, I think the main thing is that I never had to really plan my trip around the traffic.
There was no traffic.
Right. It didn't, I'm sure there was at rush hour and stuff, but it wasn't as much of a character in the mix. It wasn't something that I had to pay attention to like you do now.
Yeah. And what was it like otherwise besides traffic? Did you like living here?
I did. I was married before, and I really loved my husband. Yeah, so when I think of Portland, I think about that life.
Okay, so you moved here after high school. Did you go to college here?
Yeah, so I went to a year in Ashland. I think it was SOC or SO, Southern Oregon State College.
Yes,
I don't know if it's still
that
there.
Or
not. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I kind of flunked out because I was drinking at the time.
Okay.
And then came up and lived in Portland and went to Portland State. And
so you went to Portland State all the way back then?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. Did you finish your degree here?
Yeah. And I finished it just a couple of years ago. And I'll just add that I'm 59.
Okay. So you started it, but you never finished it back then?
Correct.
Okay. Did you meet your husband? And is that why you... No? Okay.
No, I went from Portland, I moved to Bend. And then I was living with 2 other single people in Bend. And then my roommate knew some people, and they were just going to stay in the backyard and then go to a thingy. One of those thingies.
Festival?
Yeah, that you chop things down, like lumber, like a
lumber festival?
Yeah,
I'm really confused.
Sisters, they have them in Sisters, Oregon, and you
a lumber festival?
Yeah, and you chop stuff down, and you climb the trees really fast, and you try and get down the first. That they were doing that. Mm-hmm.
That's how you met your ex-husband.
Yeah, and he was going through with the crowd, and this is it. So I was living with 2 people, a gal and a guy, and they were around my age, and we were all single. And I happened to come home from work, and no one was there, which is heaven, right? Heaven. And so I go in to take a shower, and then as I get out of the shower, I hear tons of voices, and everyone had kind of filled up the living room, which I needed to go through to get to my bedroom. And so that's when I met him.
You met him with a towel on? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is this the man that brought you all the way up to Anchorage, Alaska?
Yeah.
Okay.
So shortly after that, he might have already interviewed up in Anchorage. I can't remember, but within the year he had moved up there, and then I had moved up there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And did I understand you correctly when you said you were married once before that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so second marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll circle back around.
Yeah.
Okay, so name something you cannot live without.
I guess I would just say my daughter, my daughter's spirit, my daughter. And I don't want to put pressure on her to survive or anything. But her spirit and her, yeah.
Sustains you.
Mm-hmm. Very much.
Mm-hmm. The symbiotic.
Mm-hmm.
How old is she?
She's 26.
That's right. I had daughters that are almost the same age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I understand that. Mm-hmm. Does she live nearby?
So she's in Denver, and she just got off orientation. So she's working in the ER in Denver Health, the hospital, and she just got off orientation. And she's been at that hospital for a couple of years, but she just finished nursing school and orientation and graduated and everything. And so now she's a nurse.
Good
Yeah.
for her. That's awesome. Are you proud of her?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to hear what she's learning about and what it's like for her.
And that she's figuring it out. Mm-hmm.
What?
And that she's figuring it out.
Yeah.
Figuring life out.
Totally.
Yeah. Do you remember being 26?
Do I remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was first getting sober then, and so I was hanging out at the Alano Club a lot in Northwest Portland.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm trying to think just getting sober, and the world's all big and interesting then and everything.
Is the world still big and interesting?
Yeah, it's bigger.
Yeah.
I think as we were coming into the room here, you told me something I'd never heard before.
You
Right?
mean you're always learning something?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And that was cool to learn about rose, the power of roses.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had mentioned that it is the highest vibrational flower that exists. And that's why you see it in a lot of religious imagery.
Oh.
Yeah. It's just a very powerful vibration. It's the vibration of love. Mm-hmm.
So not only did I not know about the vibration, but then I didn't even know there was a difference in them, right?
In all the flowers?
In a flower, right? That there were different levels.
Yes.
And so that's two things I didn't know.
Everything has a vibration.
Really?
Everything. Mm-hmm. Really.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it's all about how those vibrations affect each other?
Or affect you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For instance, that's what astrology is all about.
Okay.
The planets around us hold a particular vibration that impact us, no different than the moon impacts us with the tide. And our bodies are they're not 100% water, but they're pretty close. And so if you can admit that the tide is influenced by the moon, then the moon is also influencing you. And all of the planets in the solar system all have a different vibration as well. Plants hold vibration, rocks, gemstones.
It's wild to hear that rocks do. And I've
Yeah.
probably heard that, I've heard that but that's something my brain doesn't quite grasp.
Because it's an inanimate object. But if you think of it this way, like everything also holds energy.
Okay.
So for instance, before you sat down on that chair, I smudged your chair for you because somebody else sat in it. And I didn't want their energy to impact your energy. So it clears and neutralizes the energy of that chair.
Really?
Yeah. So anyone that's ever touched that chair, including the people that put it together, or the fact that I carried it in here, we drop energy on stuff all the time, including each other. If I give you a hug, you get some of my energy, I get some of yours. Yeah, because we have an aura.
And that's pretty important
little
stuff.
Energy bubble that we don't think about, that has all these layers to it. And so we're absorbing stuff all the time, and a lot of time our energy is not even ours.
Really?
Yeah.
So what's an example of that?
Like you are at work and somebody comes into your cubicle and they're in a bad mood and they start offloading all of their stuff on you, and they walk away and they feel better and you feel terrible. That's just an energetic dump.
So are there some ways where someone could be in that cubicle and not absorb that?
Yes.
How?
You can energetically protect yourself.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to learn more about that.
Okay. I bet you do. Yes, you can energetically protect yourself. You can cleanse yourself a couple, several ways. One being you can smudge yourself. One being neutralize the outside of you. And it's also done in ritual, like even in Catholicism, to symbolize to the spirit world. It essentially puts like a black smudge, no different than like, I can't remember that anymore, but on Easter Sunday, Catholics do it. What is it called? Anyways, you know what I mean. Yeah, it's essentially alerting the spirit world that you are doing something that is highly sacred. So, yeah. So
very cool.
Yeah, you can also...
Makes me want to know more for sure.
You can also use a stone called selenite, which is a stone that doesn't absorb any energy. There are a few that don't absorb any negative or positive energy. They're just neutral. And so you can use it like an eraser on the outside of you. And so I have a big wand of it above my front door so that if anyone passes through my front door, or I have it right underneath my bed, underneath my pillows.
Really?
So that when I'm sleeping, yeah.
This is fun to learn about.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a bunch of visualizations that you can use in order to energetically protect yourself. You can call your energy back to you. You can allow your energy to anything negative to be released out of your energetic space. You can just say it out loud that you want that to happen. You can ask for anything. A lot of people don't even know that they can ask.
Oh. So what might be something that someone would ask for, do you think?
Please allow anything that is not of the highest vibration to leave my space at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. I forgot you love questions. This is going to be an interview of me too. I love it. Okay, so tell me something unique or interesting about you that only those close to you would know.
Well, the thing I think that I'm thinking of isn't necessarily that it's brightly unique or anything, but it's something many people don't know. And I've been thinking about it recently because I want to do it again.
That makes it unique.
Okay.
Keep going.
So I did swim in high school, and And I'll say I have a pretty good stroke, and I was never super fast. Like I was fine. I did fine.
Yeah, you're better than average. You're
Yeah,
better
probably-
than Andrea in the pool, but you weren't a Olympic athlete.
Yeah. Nope. And I started young, swimming, but I'd like to start again swimming on the Willamette in a group. And they have certain things, and I'm on their Facebook, and so I'll get their notifications. And then I just told a friend about it, and she's like, "Yeah, I'll do it with you." And so now I think we're going to try and do it. And so that is something I haven't thought about in years.
I'm going to ruin it for you.
What?
Do you know about the Willamette?
Is because it's dirty?
It's worse than dirty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So above St. John's Bridge, back when we didn't regulate things, there's a bunch of toxic waste sitting in landfills that they don't know what to do about. And it leaks into the river. And so they even warn you not to eat fish from that river.
Really?
Yeah.
And remind me where St. John's is. It's more up north. Is that right?
Yeah, it's up by Forest Park.
Okay.
It's the Green Bridge that looks, well, it doesn't look like it, but it's our equivalent of like the Golden Gate Bridge.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the real pretty one.
Right.
From like the 30s or 40s or whenever it was built.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry. But, when I see people swimming in that, I'm just like, make sure you take a shower afterwards. I would not get in that water. I would not. And it's not because I'm like looking for perfection in my life. I'm just trying not to contribute to whatever.
So should we say that I'll just check back in with you afterwards and let you know how it goes?
Or maybe do some research on whether or not you feel safe swimming in that river.
You got it.
Because a lot of people don't know about that. And I think it's really interesting.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, research it is.
Research. You like research.
Yeah.
You love answering questions.
Yeah.
Make the choice that's right and best for you, not the one that's right and best for me. But
okay.
Yes on the swimming.
Okay. Woohoo.
It's going to be cold. Are you going to swim with a wetsuit?
Yeah, I think, and I'm kind of babyish that way.
It's a river.
Yeah. And
we're not talking about the Gulf of Mexico here.
Right. and I would for sure get a wetsuit.
I know you lived in Anchorage, but come on.
And growing up, I was always the last one in the pool. It's just that,
I hate being cold.
Yeah. So I would get a wetsuit for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sure. I can't. To be continued.
Mm-hmm.
Make the choice that's right for you. Do not let me impact you. I just wanted you to know that.
Thank you.
I could be poorly informed, but that's my knowledge about the Willamette. Okay. What are you naturally gifted in?
Oh, that's a good one. Good job. What are you naturally gifted in?
Oh, you're going to turn it on me.
Uh-huh.
I'm naturally gifted in not being able to, I just canceled it out. Okay. I'm a truth teller.
Okay.
And it's really difficult for me to hide the truth from you.
Okay.
Usually you can see it on my face. And I also, I like to get to the bottom of things. I'm really inquisitive like you. And
so I like learn more and more about it.
But more than that, I like to understand. I will not finish until I understand something.
So why do you think that is?
I think it's a couple of things. I think it's having a dad who was a investigator in the 60s and a prosecutor, and he's very inquisitive. I'm sure he influenced me. Also the truth telling, or justice to be served, beneficence. I'm using psychology terms because I know you just graduated with an undergraduate of psychology, so you recognize that word.
So they should be in my head.
Yep. And let's see. I think also it's if you look at my astrological chart, I am primarily all water signs. And so water runs deep. So I've always been this way. When I was a kid, it was really deep. I also have a lot of Pisces in my chart, and that is considered, I mean, I don't live by my chart, but
right.
That's considered an old soul generally.
Really?
Yeah. So multiple reasons, but I've been here several times. It's very clear to me. I have lived here on this planet multiple times.
Okay,
Yeah.
I want to hear more about that.
But first, tell me what you are naturally gifted in.
I think drawing. I'll go with drawing.
I didn't even know you drew.
Yeah, I think I want to teach myself more how to paint, but I'm so dependent on drawing. When I go to paint, I go into drawing, if you can picture it, where painting is supposed to be more about shapes, drawing is about line, and so I'd love to learn how to paint more and kind of loosen up on my drawing, skills a little bit, and I do like drawing people.
So portraits?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's what my daughter's really talented into.
Really?
She can draw anyone's portrait. She
Really?
doesn't particularly like doing it anymore, but she's really, like, if she was going to draw anything,
Really?
she's really good at it.
How did she learn? In class?
She's been taking art class since she was probably
Okay.
3. Yeah.
Good for her.
I kept putting, I didn't push her. Me and my mother and I pushed her at opportune moments. Like, for instance, when she applied to San Francisco School of the Arts, I had to push her to do that because she wasn't super motivated to get all of the portfolio done, and it was a lot of work.
Right.
So I pushed her for that because I thought she would appreciate it. And I pushed her to get into Pacific Northwest College of the Arts. So both times that she applied to a school that had to do with art, I pushed her to get through it, or you could say I coached her or
and so she
championed.
went.
Yeah. She graduated. She's an illustration major.
Wow.
Yeah, so she draws now. She's taught herself to draw on a tablet. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, she started learning in high school, but she got much better at her freshman year because she was forced to. Yeah.
Oh,
but
wow.
yeah, life drawing classes and all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, she's an artist. That's what she wants to do. That or like draw book covers and be in book publishing, and she's a really great writer too.
It'd be fun to chat with her.
It would be fun to chat with her. She does not love painting. She can't stand it. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if she has similar issues where it's
probably
that dependency on line.
Because I've never heard it described that way. So that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. So what is your favorite thing to do when you're expressing love?
It could be listening.
Yeah.
And that's probably not very exciting, but if I can be there in the moment and really, really be there for someone, that hits me hard. And yeah.
You're really good at it too.
What?
You're really good at it too.
Yeah?
Yeah, you're a great listener.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you ask a lot of questions, but you also listen really intently before you ask another.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's why you ask the next question, is because you're so engaged. Mm-hmm.
Well, I just know things come up, and then
Yeah.
you got to try and figure them out, right?
Uh-huh. So when you're expressing love to other people, you are there for them in listening.
I think it's probably what, not that I'm always doing it for sure, absolutely, but I think it's what, if I'm really there in the moment and that's happening, I think I know that I've accomplished something that I want to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want that person to feel heard with my whole heart. And I'm not always successful, for sure.
How can you be successful 100% of the time? And what is success?
Right.
What's your definition of success? I mean, it sounds to me like, even just with the emotion in your eyes, that you've been pretty successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What qualities do you most admire in a woman?
In women?
Yeah.
I think there's a character that I think about. I won't say who the actress is or anything, but she plays a powerful character, and I do not like it. And one reason is, I think, because the way she makes it, it's all about literal force. And it's not about an inner belief or inner strength or a quietness of the heart. It's about a force, a physical force. And that is not the strength that I aim for. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure I know necessarily, but I know for me, I want it to be I really long for something that's quiet and deep and strong and probably a good listener,
Yeah. Yes. Have you heard, and it's come up before on an episode, but have you heard that the love language that you prefer tends to be what you didn't receive as a child?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm all intrigued and shit.
Well, that's why you love listening.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Because you wanted to be deeply heard.
Yep.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You're probably right about that.
Mm-hmm. How about in a man?
What do I love about men?
Sure. What do you love about men?
Or what's the full question again?
What qualities do you love in men?
I think that.
Or do you admire most?
I think willing to be in the moment, which can be all sorts of things, but the courage to not have to solve anything in the moment, but to just listen and be a witness. Yeah.
Because men tend to problem solve?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
So someone that's able to let go of that job for a moment and just be
present.
Yeah, and I admit it, I don't always know what that being looks like, but perhaps that's just what I'm craving.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a good reason. What did you love doing as a child?
God, I don't even know, man. What did you love doing?
I loved playing with my cat. I loved, okay, I loved having a garden.
No way, really?
Yeah, so we didn't have a lot of property, but we had an acre and a half, which was a moderate amount of property for Southern California at the time. And my dad or my mom or both gave me a little plot of their garden that I could do whatever I wanted. It was mostly like wildflower seeds, but I was really obsessed. I still am with water. Not deep water. You will never catch me in like deep ocean because there's way too many things underneath me. I have too big of an imagination.
Right.
But if it's clear water, I'll get in it for sure. I was obsessed and still am. I have a river and a pond in my backyard, and I have had a pond in my houses, except for San Francisco, a couple of times now.
Wow.
And I really love the sound of running water. And so I used to get in trouble a lot because my dad thought it was a really good idea at one point in our backyard. I don't know, like visually speaking, he made like a dry riverbed through one of our planters.
Really?
Yeah, you've seen them in like people's yards, right? It doesn't have like any water in it, but it has like river rock.
Very
so
cool.
He did that through one of the planters, and I decided I wanted that in the middle of my plot of land. It was tiny. It was like maybe less than 10 feet, but and I used to park my Barbie van next to it, and then I would run the hose. I'd get in trouble because I'd run the hose down this. I'd made my own riverbed, and Barbie was like camping, and I would get in trouble because I would run the hose a lot and waste water. I was very imaginative,
right?
Lost in another world, doing my own thing a lot. Trying to get out of the house. There was a lot going on in my house as a kid. So I was out trying to get out.
Like with siblings and stuff, or?
Lots of drama.
Okay.
That's putting it mildly.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then my mom just didn't love having us around.
She didn't?
No. So she was always like, go outside.
Okay.
Go play. Go find something to do. Yeah, so I was by myself a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you know she was doing that?
Oh, yeah.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
And then at the time, did it hurt, or was it fine, or?
No, it was not fine.
Okay.
Yeah. It was very clear and still is, and I'm still a little puzzled as to why my parents had kids. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Because it didn't seem like that's something they wanted to engage in.
No, I mean, they would tell us differently, but their actions speak differently. Yeah. I'm not saying that they didn't do their best. They absolutely did. But,
right.
But, yeah.
If they had to do it over, they might not have chosen to have kids.
I think the only reason why my mom chose to have children is because her best friend was having them.
Okay.
And it was the thing to do.
And that's what you do.
That's what you did.
Right.
Yeah.
God, I totally get that.
Yeah. It was the 60s.
Right.
Early 60s. Yeah, late 60s. Mm-hmm.
Do you think that your mom likes being a mom now?
No.
No. Really?
Mm-mm.
So you can tell?
Mm-hmm.
How?
Because it's inconvenient when I call her.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know it's inconvenient?
This became an interview about me. How do I know? Because it's like anybody else who doesn't want you to call them.
Okay. It's like, hey, what's up?
A lot of times my dad will say, what do you need?
Oh.
Our conversations are very short.
Okay.
And there's a lot of tension.
Really?
Because there's a lot of unresolved trauma.
Right. So does that bring on the sadness? Or?
It depends. Do I grieve it like I used to? No. It depends. Through the divorce, certainly there were times when I needed them when I didn't want to need them as much as I had to rely on them.
So it sounds like you really noticed it at the time then that...
Oh, I notice it all the time.
Wow.
But in my 30s, I definitely went through a grieving process and went to therapy about how, like, coming to terms with not having a mother that I wanted.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of women have to come to terms with not having a mother that they wanted.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, we do our best, but she's not, at this point in my life, she's not my first go-to. I would call my dad before I would call her.
And does she know that?
Yes.
And so she probably doesn't mind that?
I think she tolerates the conversations. And I think she tolerates the conversations with most of us, or all three of us.
And does she mind that you might go to someone else before her?
Oh, yeah, because it makes her feel unimportant. Yeah.
She likes to be the first one?
She likes lots of things.
Okay. What does she like most?
Being the center of attention.
Really? Okay. Is she
Yeah.
loud?
She can be very loud, yes.
Interesting. Okay.
She's very gregarious. She's very well liked by people outside of the family.
She is?
Okay.
Interesting.
But also, it's a show.
But also what?
It's a show.
Right.
So if you've been her friend for a long time, you get it. But new people think she's great.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, we're touching on some personality disorders. I don't know if you picked up on that yet.
You're right.
Yeah. So enough about me.
Okay.
What did you love doing as a child? What was your favorite thing to do to escape? Did you read? You seem like a reader.
No, I didn't read very much. I probably watched TV, but what was it? I think I always remember, even from a young age, and this isn't necessarily an activity, so I'm not going in that direction, but I do remember always liking to have a lot of blankets around me, and that could have been a security, you know, just a real security, like a security blanket, right? And so...
Like you loved being cozy.
Very much. Like that was my comfort zone. Where, yeah, I couldn't go to my parents probably. So I had my own, and I still have it today. You know, that blankets and...
Me too.
Really?
Yeah, I have a weighted blanket too.
Really? Okay, now I want to see it.
Well, you'll have to come over.
I will.
Yeah, you'll have to come over and see my pond and my river and my weighted blanket and my blankets. I have lots of blankets.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was your favorite thing to do, is wrap yourself up in a blanket.
I think it's I probably didn't know I was doing it then, but looking back, that's probably what kept me feeling safe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You were trying to create safety when you were a kid?
For sure.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
me too.
I didn't know it, but looking back, it all makes sense. It all fits together now.
I don't know that I knew it when I was really young.
Really?
Yeah, but I think I definitely was clued in by 10 or 12 for sure.
Okay.
That I was in an unsafe environment. Mm-hmm.
That's still pretty young.
Well, I would say that 7 or 8 had it figured out, but I think I made a
Wow.
conscious decision by about 10 or 12 that I had to get out.
Did your siblings help you figure it out, like together? No? Okay.
No, I have 2 older sisters, and we are not close.
Okay.
They were raised very differently than I was.
How were they raised?
Well, my parents had them one on top of each other, 18 months apart. So they kind of jokingly say that they weren't like an oops, but they were, less planned, and they planned having me.
Oh.
And I came 5 and 6 years later. So there was a very large gap. So it was not cool, first of all.
It wasn't for them, you mean? Or?
It was, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Meaning my sisters, it was not so cool. I was not cool. When your siblings are in their teenage years
Right.
and you're the young kid trying to
Right.
hang out with them. Yeah. So I was not cool. And getting along was not fostered for anyone.
Really?
No.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So what was fostered then?
Chaos.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Now
So they were my adversaries.
Okay.
Yeah. Because they thought I had better privileges because my parents were more conscious, theoretically, when it came to me about how they raised me, and they put me in different school, and they tried to give me different rules, and yeah.
Oh,
so
I
they were
see,
very
right.
jealous of my situation because I
Right.
was treated differently than they were in their perspective.
And are they nearby?
No.
Okay. Do you see them ever?
Not really.
Would you like to?
No. Mm-mm. Not at this point.
Right.
Yeah. I've come to terms with a lot of things. And they don't contribute positive interactions.
Really?
Really.
So it's pretty tough, just the back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you came on this episode with me. Are we going to talk about you?
Yeah. Yeehaw.
Okay. Not to put you on the spot, but you're always so inquisitive about me. Okay. So what was it like to grow up in your family? Tell me about it.
I would say it was pretty nice, and the nice being in kind of quotes,
And do you mean by quotes like expected nice? What do you mean by quotes?
just how it looked from the outside,
Yes.
And my dad was a golfer, and we grew up on the golf course. And
did you golf?
I did when I was young, yeah.
Are you any good at it?
I don't know. I only golfed when I was young. But my dad, I can tell you a little story if you want, but my dad he was a pretty quiet man, and not gregarious, he was very well regarded in town. And he would always practice his swing, always, always. And he wasn't athletic, super athletic, looking, but he had a beautiful golf swing, and he was good. And he died in 95, right before I got married, of cancer. And after he died, his friends from the golf course had a bridge dedicated to him that they put on the golf course.
Which golf course?
Corvallis Country Club. And I say that because that's the kind of relationship he had with his friends. Is that they really cared about him.
Yeah.
And that mattered to me.
Yeah.
And watching those relationships, that mattered to me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How about his family? Did he really care about his family?
Huh?
Did he really care about his family?
Us?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He, so I have one brother, he's 5 years younger. And so it's the two of us and my parents were together until he died in 95. And he was a very sweet person. He didn't like to brag about himself at all.
Sounds like someone else I know.
But you want to hear a little story?
Sure.
So he did not like to brag about himself at all. And I was sitting there with him and my grandfather, so his dad. Mm-hmm. And we were watching, I think, probably golf or something sporting on TV. And I looked up at my grandfather and I said, Grandpa, Dad is in Golf Digest this week or this month. And then I was so embarrassed that I said that to my grandfather because I knew my dad would be so mad at me to brag, right? And so then my grandfather did not hear what I said. So I looked up at my dad and my dad looked at me and he said, say it louder. So he really wanted his dad to hear. And it was really sweet to watch that. So I said it louder.
What did his dad think?
I think he smiled. I think he was really, he had a quiet disposition, but I think he was really happy. Yeah.
Did he play golf?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So your family was really nice.
Yeah.
What was that look for?
Because, there's things you learn about different personalities and how they work when you get older. And so when you look back, you go, okay, I see what was going on more now. So.
Okay. Do you want to elaborate?
Well, I'll just say that learning how to be there for my mom has probably been my greatest lesson. Mm-hmm. How do I do that? And that's something I'm working on every day.
Because?
Be there for myself and love myself and be there for her in a way that's healthy for me and doesn't drain me.
Was that your role in the family?
I think everyone's role is to try and keep my mom happy.
Aha, we have that in common.
Mm-hmm. And so we all had that job. Mm-hmm. And if we didn't, we knew.
Yeah, me too.
And so it was pretty scary at times.
Yeah. Is that what contributed to drinking?
That's a good question. I personally think my body is so addicted to alcohol that, maybe me and my personality, I attacked it sooner in my life. But I think my body's just super addicted to alcohol. So at some point I would have to stop and maybe because of my personality, I was just more aggressive early on and just drank more aggressively early on. I don't know, but
What do you mean your body is addicted to alcohol?
I think I had to stop early because you know how sometimes, people can drink till they're old and they drink a lot, but they're fine. That wasn't my type of alcoholism.
Well, they're not really fine.
Right.
It catches up.
Right. And my body wasn't that wasn't my type of body. My body it's going down. And so I had to either stop drinking or probably die pretty soon. So in a way, I suppose that's a blessing.
What do you mean your body's going down?
Just the alcohol, I was way more affected by alcohol.
Got it.
Way more nauseous, way more sick the next day. So continuing on, even having a job was something that was...
It would impair everything.
Right.
Take over your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know about that. Me and alcohol are old besties. Mm-hmm. We have a history. All right. So what is one of your earliest memories of feeling love?
This is a memory I've been thinking about recently, and bottom line is a big question mark. When you ask that, I have a big question mark. But I will say I've been thinking about this incident a lot lately.
Okay.
And I wonder to myself, why do I remember this? And what comes to me more and more, the older I get, is, or more recently, but maybe because that could have been the first time that I really felt something deep.
Okay.
And it was when I was in Modesto, so I was under 7. I'm guessing I was 5 or under, I don't know. And my parents had a party, and this was in the 60s, so I'm guessing it was like Mad Men style party,
Huh?
And
do you like that series?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So a lot of cocktails and smoking, and my parents smoked a lot, and I hated it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I didn't know I hated it at 5, of course, but I was in the bathroom. So my parents were having a cocktail party. I was pretty sick, and I don't remember what all the symptoms were, but I remember being pretty sick and having to sit on the toilet. And I just remember my grandma sitting right there next to me. And all I remember is thinking about that. Like, why do I remember that? And feeling nurtured during those moments.
Were you close to your grandmother?
Yeah. She was she was the matriarch. She was my dad's mom.
Uh-huh.
Nana.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what I called my dad's mom, too.
Really?
Yeah.
You
she
had a
died
Nana.
when I was 3. Uh-huh.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Where did she live?
She didn't live far from us. Yeah.
Where was that?
Southern California.
Okay.
Yeah.
My grandma was in San Francisco.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you lived in San Francisco, right?
Before Portland.
Okay.
Yeah. So up until 2014. From 2009 to 2014. And I had lived in the Bay Area for most of my adult life. Yes.
Okay.
Because I came up for college. But when I was young, I lived in Southern California in Orange County. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, I mean, we lived at that time, well, when I was 3, we lived in Huntington Beach.
Oh, wow.
And then I could be wrong, but I want to say like Long Beach or something on the beach. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nana.
I barely remember her.
So she must have died pretty early then.
I was 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I barely remember.
And you remember her.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, she must have really made an impression on you, huh?
Yeah, she was safe. Mm-hmm.
She was your mom's,
No.
your dad's mom?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, my mom's mom was contributed to my mom.
Okay.
And so, you know, there's...
Is she still around?
My mother is.
But
my grandmother, no.
Okay.
My grandmother died when I was in college, my sophomore year, I think, of college.
Okay.
And she was 93.
No way.
Yeah. And she had survived breast cancer 3 times.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. It didn't even kill her. That wasn't what killed her.
How did she die?
An open wound on her chest.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
At 93.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
She had a gaping hole in her chest.
Really? How did she get that?
From having her breasts removed and it not healing.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So some things will just not heal then?
Well, it's, I mean, if you want to get to a metaphysical cause of a gaping hole in someone's chest, what would that say about that person?
Right. Like their heart was aching or their something.
Missing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is good shit.
Mm-hmm. That's what led me into the work that I do. When I was in my early 20s, I was a personal trainer. I had my own personal training company. I was over at one of my clients' houses, and we started talking about how my grandmother died. So it's probably had been like maybe 5 years, or 7 years, but relatively, yeah, within time that it would have been at the forefront of my mind. And I don't know why it came up, but I told her how she died. And she handed me a book by Carolyn Myss and said, you should read this. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And you read it?
Mm-hmm.
What was it about?
Do you not know who Carolyn Myss is?
Uh-uh.
Okay. Well, I will put that maybe in the show notes if I remember. But Carolyn Myss is a very famous author. And she spearheaded essentially how we contribute to our illness.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, keep going.
So, that disease, that word is dis-ease in your body.
Right.
So there's a cause to everything. You contribute. All your thoughts and your patterns of belief and your thinking around certain things contributes to why you have illness in your body.
Oh, this is fascinating. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd like to learn more, too.
Yeah.
About that whole
area.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah. So I didn't know it at the time, but I'd look back on it and realize I still have the book. And I realized that absolutely contributed to a path of wanting to know more about that.
So that's what really got you started?
I mean, I look back at different things throughout my timeline or my journey. And I mean, I was obsessed with astrology when I was in my late teens. And I've had numerous what would be considered spiritual awakenings, but I read like The Alchemist and the Celestine Prophecy when I was 19. Like I was, already on a path.
The Alchemist, or who wrote The Alchemist again?
Pablo Coelho.
Okay.
So I was in religion class in Catholic high school, raising my hand a lot and irritating the heck out of Mr. Giuliani. I make jokes about him.
He was your teacher.
And I broke him down one day because he was so tired of my questions. And he said, just learn it for the test. And I was like, got you. Because I kept saying, how do you know? How do you know? And he kept saying, just have faith, Andrea. Just have faith. and it wasn't good enough for me. Then I took a world religions class in high school, and I was like, because I grew up very sheltered and super conservative and very naive. Like, I was thinking about it today, kind of like Sandra Dee.
Okay. So when you say conservative, do you mean?
Very conservative.
What do you mean, though?
Both in rules and politics.
Okay. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
In all the ways.
Okay.
Yeah. So very sheltered, and that was intentional. And my family did not expect me to leave. And I'm the only child that has. So
Really?
Yeah, it was very intentional.
Really?
Very intentional to not prepare us to leave.
So you did the opposite of what you were not scheduled. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Because I could see the dysfunction.
You could.
Mm-hmm.
Were you able to label it, or?
It scared the shit out of me, yeah. It was enough to scare me, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I knew that I would not be safe and I would not be free.
Was there someone around you that was safe that you could really reach out to?
My mom's best friend lived next door. And while I won't say that she provided safety for me, because she also was not, she had her own issues.
Right.
And she married somebody that was actually pretty scary to me. But she liked to spend time outside.
Okay.
So because I was out in the garden or out in the backyard, I would come and hang out with her or talk to her. Sometimes teachers. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes teachers would get me through, but
it's interesting where we learn things, isn't it?
I was a latchkey kid, so my mom worked when I got home. She was still at work, and my sisters were too old and didn't want to watch me. So a neighbor across the street. This is how I know that I knew my family was abusive. A family across the street, I was very close to their daughter, and they would let me, they had a backyard that was near to the bus stop where I got dropped off, and I would go up their backyard and then come into their house, and the mom would let me hang out every day after school with that family. And they moved away, and my mom will still say that I was never the same. It broke my heart, and I was 7.
Really?
Yeah, because I wanted to move with them, and they didn't take me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Have you seen them since?
No. I even asked my mom recently and my sister if they could remember her last name. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm not sure if she knew that she had that impact. I'm sure she did, but yeah, not necessarily at that age. She was a little bit older than me. I think she was 2 years older, but yeah.
That's really cool you had them.
It was really cool that I had them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when I was older, consistent things kept happening, but that would reconfirm it, because I didn't necessarily want to believe it. You never
what's one thing?
You're turning this into a therapy session.
Sorry.
It's okay.
You can tell me to shut it.
There's so many things. Like, so many things.
I totally get it.
Mm-hmm. So many things.
Mine was like...
My mom would hit us with a hairbrush.
She would?
Mm-hmm. She would chase after my sister with a wooden spoon and laugh at her.
Really?
When she'd hit her. Mm-hmm.
She would laugh?
Mm-hmm.
Like, aha, caught ya, got ya, I win.
My sister would say, I'm going to call Child Protective Services, and she'd say, go ahead.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Does that give you a little bit of a glimpse?
Yeah.
Yeah. So many things. Too many to mention.
Makes me sad, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, she was doing what she knew and how she was taught
Right.
and how she was parented.
That they didn't have that courage to just
They didn't
show
have
their
self-development.
vulnerability.
They didn't have self-development.
Right.
Personal development didn't exist until the 70s and the 80s. 80s, really.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I've done a lot of work around it. Notice how I'm not getting emotional.
Right.
And you are. I've done a lot of work around it.
Well, good job.
Thank you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not easy.
No, it wasn't. But I've been working on it my whole life, so I have a lot of practice. I have more practice at doing the work around it than I did actually living in it. So
That's an interesting way to put it, too.
Because I left when I was 17.
Right. Well, good
So
job.
like I said, if I was in my 30s, I didn't have as much time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, good job.
Thank you.
I mean that.
I know you do. Can we get back to you?
Yeah.
Okay. What makes you feel loved?
I think feeling heard.
Okay.
Yeah.
So listening to other people makes you feel loved, and being heard makes you feel loved.
Yeah, maybe being recognized.
Being seen.
Maybe that's it.
Being seen and heard, which is why you like to do it for other people.
Right.
Yeah.
Value it, yeah.
That makes sense. What has been your greatest lesson in love?
In life?
In love.
In love?
Good
question. I think I'm not sure how to say it yet.
Okay.
And this is what I went through with my husband.
Okay.
Who I love with my whole heart. Even though we're getting divorced and we signed our final divorce papers today, but I love him with my whole heart. But it's knowing that I'm doing that and then truly, and I mean this, not expecting anything back.
It's called unconditional love.
Yeah.
Where did you learn that?
I think going through the breakup and him being with someone else and really looking at the way I was quote unquote loving or being loving probably wasn't. It was probably needing. And so it was looking at that and seeing what my love might not have been what I was truly aiming for. And so I had to kind of examine that.
Well, good on you for examining it.
Thank you.
Most relationships are contractual.
Or what?
Contractual.
God, yes. Aren't they?
Yes.
Totally.
With so many expectations.
Right.
Especially if you get the law involved.
Right. And I think I just really...
Which isn't love at all.
What?
Which isn't really love at all.
No.
Love doesn't have any limits.
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting how it's not in the head. It has to happen in the body. You know? So it's not...
It's not your ego, it's your heart.
Right. And there's not a whole lot of controlling that with your head.
No.
So
how did you learn it?
I really think I knew that I wanted to be there for my husband, and I had to figure out how I was going to do that in a very genuine way. So I had to figure that out, and it was something that I wanted desperately, and so I had to stay on track.
Did anyone model it to you?
What?
Did anyone model it to you?
It's a good question. Probably all over, right? But
all over
the world, you know, you see things here and there. You see little actions on the street or someone you know, and they tell a story, or there are lots of things going on if our eyes are open, we can see it. As far as it happening, you know, I mean, I think with my daughter, having a daughter and going through that and going through the pain of having not been there for her when I was drinking at times.
Mm-hmm.
So really having to look at where I let someone down is really important, I think.
Taking responsibility.
Fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Going, I was not there for them. And that matters. And so I gotta first at least acknowledge that, and then, well, if I'm strong enough, make amends. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Landmark Forum kicked my ass.
You went to that?
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
All the way through the advanced series.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you go? In Seattle?
No, here in Portland.
Oh, I went in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Like way a long time ago. Like in...
Easy on your eye.
I can't believe you went to that. Let's see, when did I go? Like 1990 or something?
Oh, no. This was like 2016.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So it's still going?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a lot of overlaps, don't we? Okay, so you've already touched on this a little bit, but how did it come to a point where you decided that you were going to get a divorce or leave your husband?
Well, we were in counseling pretty intensely, and we weren't getting closer, and I was pretty unhappy, and so we just, it was in counseling that we talked about kind of taking a break. And then shortly after that, I had an affair with someone, which totally broke up the marriage. And
You did?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
And
I mean, not in breaking up the marriage, but good for you.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's something I have to accept that I did, that something, I have to really look at. Yes, we were looking at breaking up, but I did something that was very hurtful. And that's something I need to really
reconcile.
Yeah. I mean, I've apologized for sure, but I just want to make it known.
Now it's making a lot more sense why you have the relationship that you do.
Why what?
You have the relationship with him that you do.
Yeah.
And because in some ways I think you feel indebted.
Well, I care about him. I really, really care about him and his life and his heart. And I want him to be okay.
Mm-hmm. How long were you married?
So we got together in 93 and yeah.
And you got divorced in 2023?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a long time.
Yeah. So we signed papers today together.
How do you feel about that?
It was good. It was really nice to be with him and just do it together. And, we had done all the other stuff, with the lawyers. And then at the 1st of June, it was okay to make it a formal, not a legal separation anymore. And so we just went down and they helped us down at the courthouse and we did it. And I think it was a bonding experience in that, we were doing something hard, but we were doing it together and we were supporting each other.
How do you feel about your newfound freedom?
My newfound
freedom.
I'm sorry. I wish I wasn't losing my hearing.
You're fine.
I did feel a release afterwards today. I can tell that it's a big week. There's a lot going on this week, and I'm really tired. But I could feel some relief in there.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad that you are getting some relief.
I always loved saying my husband, Andrea. I loved saying that.
I know, I did too.
You did?
Mm-hmm. That's what kept me in it for so long.
Really?
I mean, there were other things,
right.
But yeah, I was married to the fairy tale of having a family.
Right.
Because I got to create my own finally.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd done a good job.
Right.
And I tried really hard to keep it together. Mm-hmm. I did everything I could to keep it together.
You did.
Yes. Wholeheartedly.
How long
Even
were you guys?
my mom will say
Really?
I did everything. She told me that 8 years ago.
Wow.
She said, you have done everything you can. Mm-hmm.
And how do you feel about that you did everything you could?
I feel multiple things at this point, but in regards to that, I had absolutely, when I told him I was done, I had no reservations about it.
Really? So you had really made up your mind? Or
by that point, it was the 7th time I'd almost left.
Okay.
And I had already filed once before. I had forgiven him multiple times for multiple things.
Right.
And many things that most people would not forgive him for.
Wow.
And there got to be a place where I had convinced myself that I was his caretaker and that no one else would love him the way that I did, which is very true. I think I have loved him better than anybody else in his life ever has.
How does that feel?
Well, it feels like I accomplished my part of the commitment.
Okay. So you feel like it was successful in a way?
Yes. Yes. In some ways.
On your part?
For sure. Yeah. I was wholeheartedly committed. I'm always in anything that I do wholeheartedly committed.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's do or die for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where do you think that came from?
Probably my dad.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He was like that?
He still is. He's still with my mother.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I think they're going on past 60 years. I mean, they're...
Really?
Oh, yeah. They've been together for a very long time. They got married. I don't know. They must have gotten married in the early 60s. So, yeah, they've been together for a very long time.
Wow.
So I think he taught me that in good and bad ways.
Okay.
Like I endured a lot.
You did.
Because that was modeled to me.
That was what?
Modeled to me.
Right.
So when I say I forgave a lot of things that other people would not have forgiven, I'm not just making a joke. I'm meaning other people around me asked me to leave, told me I should go, begged me to leave. I lost friendships over it. People told me I was crazy for staying.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot revolved around that relationship.
Everything. It was everything.
Wow.
The reason why he became as successful as he did was because I was behind him.
Really?
He would never acknowledge that, but yeah, I gave up everything. I gave up having more kids by staying with him. I gave up my financial future by staying with him. I gave up, my daughter wants me to write a book about, she wants me to title it, All the Things I Gave Up.
Really?
There's so many things. I left a house that I loved for him because he wanted to change cities because of his job. I gave up a lot of things to stay in that relationship. Wow. I thought I was doing the right thing. Right. And I thought that I was providing safety and security for my daughter because I didn't have any. And that kind of backfired too. Yeah.
Right.
But I learned so much.
God, I bet you did.
And it's one of the reasons why I'm so strong. I mean, at the time, I didn't realize what was going on with my mom when I left. I just knew that the family was really intolerable. And because the family dynamics had been so normalized, and my mom, kept telling me, you think you've got it bad? Everyone's family is like this. And so she really had us brainwashed to think that like this was how people treated each other.
Really?
Yeah. And that's why I was bringing up the religion course earlier, the world religions course, because I finally, between that and going over to other people's houses, which we weren't allowed to do very often, it wasn't, it probably wasn't until 7th or 8th grade where I really was allowed to spend the night over at other people's houses. And so I would see how other families reacted to each other. And I started to realize, oh, I'm right. Other people treat each other differently. And then in world religions, I was like, mind explosion. Oh,
right.
People think differently. Yeah.
Wow.
because it was so controlling, so dominated.
That's cool that you had that. You were able to get that awareness from somewhere.
Well, unintentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if my parents had had their way, I would still live down the street in one of their houses.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're still upset.
Is that where your sisters live?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My mom's still angry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do they know you do a podcast?
They have no interest in what I do.
Okay. That's too bad for them. I'm sorry for them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's okay. So, how should we end this? Because we keep talking about me. This is more than I've ever talked about me. But I'm not surprised.
Yeah? Really?
Well, yeah, because if you and I met in class, for people who don't know, you and I met becoming certified as a peer wellness specialist, and you had so many questions, not only in class, but also every time I spoke with you. For everyone.
Really?
Yes, for everyone that you encountered, including me. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yes. Even on the last day with Chris. Remember?
Right. Which Chris?
The one that sat over by me. There was only one.
No, there's two.
Oh, okay.
There was the other one, and he got out of jail. God, he's so sweet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He sat on the right side of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to see Chris at Blanchet when I go help at Blanchet.
Okay, so that's the one that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He was to the left of me, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Yeah, I'll see him when I go volunteer there.
Okay. So that was one of my questions.
Yeah.
But we made the podcast all about me. So you and I met becoming peer wellness specialists in class. Mm-hmm. And what drew you to that certification?
Well, I'm a recovering alcoholic, so I have the peer part as far as peers usually have mental health issues or addiction issues.
Yep.
And mine is addiction.
Yep.
And so being in AA and knowing how that works, I think it was a natural progression. And then also some of my friends near where I live are homeless, and so just learning how I can help them and really wanting to learn more about that.
How did you find out about it?
So I was helping at Blanchet, and one of the guys, Christopher Woody, handed me his card and told me where to call. And then I think I was just going to do, I can't even remember what we talked about at Blanchet, but he was trying to help me get involved in it. And then I ended up just signing up for the class, not realizing that that's not even what he was talking about. So I just started going to the class. So it was perfect.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so explain to everybody what Blanchet is.
Blanchet House is, it was developed in the early 50s, mid 50s in the Pearl in Portland. And it's on the corner of, it was on the corner of Gleason and 4th. Now it's on the corner of Gleason and 3rd. So just a little bit further down, they just demolished the old building. And then they have a new building now. And there are men, it's all for men, and men live there. And so they're getting off the street, and they live there. And during the first part of when they live there, I think the first 90 days, they have to work in the kitchen. And so what the kitchen does is it puts out 3 meals a day, except for Sunday, for the anyone that wants a meal. And so they do 3 meals a day for out of their place, and then they also house people and have jobs for people there on site.
And you volunteer, and what do you do?
And so I volunteer. Mainly, I've just done the food service. There's lots of different things you can do, but I've only done the food service. So, like a couple years ago, when I was going, I was only going in the morning. So I'd get there at 6:30, do the meal service, eat some breakfast, then go. So it was a 6:30 to 8:30. You get to see all the people that come in the door. You get to learn their names. Then you learn the guys that are living there and what their paths are. Then you learn who's working there. And so you get to learn the whole kind of world of what's going on. And that's really what made me want to go to the class, I think, is learning more.
Mm-hmm. What have been your most excellent teachings through these experiences? What have you learned?
What have been my what?
Most excellent experiences, or what have you learned? What if
In life?
No, through working at Blanchet.
Oh, at Blanchet. Blanchet. Okay, got it.
What have been the most incredible experiences or teachings or lessons that you have learned in this atmosphere?
I think the one that is really strong, Andrea, is how incredible people are. And I don't mean that just from an outside perspective, just because, yes, in a way, every person is incredible. What I mean is the skills people have when they come in, even when they're homeless or, have had such a different experience. I think what I've learned is how fucking incredible it is. Some of the skills people have learned and going through what they've gone through in their world. And I think that has been really a gift.
Can you give us an example?
I think in our class, we had people that were in there specifically because of the hardships they went through. And because we heard so many details recently, it's easy to think of those examples, but
Well, a lot of meth addicts. We were in class with a lot of meth addicts.
Yeah, and
which I had never been around.
Right.
So that was very insightful for me, how much overlap I had with meth addicts.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one.
Not that I thought that there was anything specific to that particular drug, because it's not like I hadn't done drugs.
Right.
But
yeah, when you don't know a certain world, you don't know it.
But once that was revealed to me, then just the ways of belief or thinking around that or obtaining that or,
I just think people
or why you would do it.
Freaking smart, right? And so I think how people survive, how they can go about surviving in a kind of unsurvivable atmosphere is pretty incredible. Don't you think?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do.
And so I think the fact that I'm so much more aware now of
capability.
Yeah, and who and how I can learn, who I can learn from and how, having a great respect for people, maybe even especially when they're living on the street, is, I'm grateful for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
It is hard, and it's humbling.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the things we take for granted.
God.
And then we complain about how difficult our lives are.
God.
And it's like we have running water that comes out of the wall that's hot.
No kidding. Good point.
I don't have to think about where I'm going to use the restroom today, although I did momentarily. But, you know, like I have a restroom.
Right.
No matter where I go.
Mm-hmm.
And I have safety.
And just like I think it was yesterday, I was putting taking garbage down from my apartment, and I had to have a guy help me. And he's tall. He had to help me do something in the garbage room. And then as I was leaving, I was really thanking him. And he goes, I get asked that all the time, especially at the grocery store. And I'm someone who's 5'3". So I'm like, you know what? I've never been asked that. And it's so interesting. That's a very lighthearted example, but how we can't know what people go through.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You're so deep. Okay. How can we incorporate more love for ourselves in the world around us?
I think I read something recently, and I'm trying to recall it, but it had to do with our brains and really recognizing that they're kind of a machine sometimes, and just let them be a machine, but don't personalize everything that the machine does or the machine interprets. Just kind of watch it and
just be an observer.
And be an observer, and you don't have to personalize everything your body's going through.
Mm.
And give yourself a hug. Give yourself a freaking hug, Andrea.
I do.
Good.
I do. I hug myself a lot. I also tell myself I love myself.
You do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have a certain time of day, or?
I have a bunch of affirmations just sitting on my mirror when I brush my teeth. Yeah. And they've changed throughout the years. Yeah.
Good job creating that
habit. Thank you. Yeah. I do it when I brush my teeth. Because it's powerful when you see and hear it.
Right.
That's how you make change.
What's one of your affirmations?
Right now, I'm important to me. Mm-hmm.
I like that.
That's a mirror exercise.
Okay.
So when you're feeling unimportant, for instance, how you do it is you look at some of the things that you're telling yourself. Like, I'm unimportant to that person. And then you switch it around to you.
And you say, I'm important to me.
Or I am important. Yeah.
I'm important.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of always looking for kind of that approval or love elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
Thank you. One of the best things that I heard was from Jess, who used to be my client and is now my friend and was on an episode earlier. And she said, oh God, what was it? I love myself even when I'm not feeling loved.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's both write that down.
I did.
Okay.
I had to
That's
think
right.
about it. It's been a couple of months since I practiced that.
Okay.
But I love myself even when I'm not feeling loved.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think our bodies and brains go through so much and we try and interpret everything.
For sure.
And maybe sometimes we don't need to interpret, we just need to hug.
Mm.
But I don't know.
You're just figuring it out at 59. I just realized while you were talking, you and I are 10 years apart.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're 49.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. And when's your birthday?
November.
Okay, we are.
When's your birthday?
December.
Okay. So we're both hitting a milestone this year.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. It's a big year.
Oh my freaking God.
Where were you at 50?
I'm squinting my eyes and...
Were you still in Anchorage?
Oh, yeah. I don't know what I did for my 50th.
Okay. It was that memorable.
Probably just went out to dinner.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a different life. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good job.
Good job to you, too.
And I like your sign in here that says, I'm happy you are here.
I am happy you're here. I'm happy that you're here. And then I'm happy that you're here on the planet.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good job for spreading some cool energy out into the world.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I want to give back what I've received. A lot of people helped me get to here.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I did a lot of it on my own, too. Don't get me wrong. I've spent a lot of time doing things on my own. But there were some significant instances where some other people helped me out. You know, we can't get through this life completely alone.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning that more and more and more the older I get. It's kind of incredible, isn't it?
Yep. How you think you can do it all yourself when you're younger.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And
really,
then your perspective changes.
Symbioticness, which probably isn't a word.
You just made it one. Hashtag symbioticness. It was great talking to you.
You too, my dear. Thank you.
You're welcome.